Hello, this is Tim Schnakenberg. I'm a field specialist in agronomy located in Southwest Missouri, and it's my honor to visit with you today on this virtual field day for the Southwest Research Center. I want to talk about native warm season grasses. I do believe that they are worth a second look. There were many of them planted, some research done at the Southwest Center many years ago. They didn't really take off in large scale, even though they're very native to our state. But as far as getting them back on the farms, we haven't seen a lot of that going on outside of maybe CRP ground. But seriously, we have new tools today. We have a little better knowledge of how to get them established, and we have weed control options that help us. So I want to talk a little bit about, are they really worth a second look on your place? I think they are. I think they are. So we're going to talk about that today. There are several varieties or species, I should say, that are used in Missouri that are commonly used, such as switchgrass, big blue stem, Indian grass, eastern gamma grass. Those are probably the biggies. Cytodes grama and little blue stem are sometimes thrown in there as a, kind of help fill the gaps and give you some diversity. And so these are the primary ones that we'll see on farms. Now, at the Research Center, we did do a demonstration. We put it in 2019, planted May the 13th that year. We used call, big blue stem. We used a little bit of Osage Indian grass. We used Ozark little blue stem. And this is a picture taken in August of that year. And I was not 100% happy with the stand initially, so we went back and added more to thicken up the stand in April of this 2020. We did that primarily with big blue stem. And here's some pictures that I took May the 18th. You can see some of the initial growth that was coming out. Very, very, very palatable, good quality feed. Yeah, there were a few little gaps, but for the most part, I was happy with the stand the way it turned out. Here is a picture I took on July the 7th. This is following a hay harvest a week or so before. This is the regrowth that you were seeing. You can see there's some weeds that were coming on, but those weeds don't bother me too bad. We were able to contain those. And then the forage, was utilized on the farm mainly in hay this year, but in latter years we anticipate it'll be used for grazing. Now, my question today is, why bother with natives? And I think the number one thing to think about is how it complements our cool season grass pastures. We have a lot of fescue across the state of Missouri, and fescue has a definite place in the cattle industry. But, there's some complements that we need to have in order to get through that summer slump, such as switchgrass and big blue and Indian grass and possibly eastern gamma grass and others. These help maintain forage production and significant amounts of forage production as we go through those key summer months when we sometimes need those warm season forages to complement that cool season grass. Here's a case in point, just a case study, I would say, a picture I received from a producer in Polk County back in 2018 during a fairly early drought that we had that year. Most of the fescue was already eliminated or almost going by the wayside very quickly. And these cows had options of going into a switchgrass stand. A little mature, but it still was the greenest thing out there, and they were able to have some relief from the drought as a result of having warm season grass options on the farm. Another reason, I think, is that they are very palatable, great pasture if harvested correctly and timely. I think they also dilute down or eliminate the endophyte toxin. I think we have a lot of endophyte issues in Missouri with all the fescue that we grow. And if we can have, somewhere around 20 or 25% of our farm in a warm season grass during the summer months, it gives us options. It gets those cattle off those pastures so that they can have a little bit of relief from it. Another reason, I think it's a source of well-timed quality hay. The hay quality, if harvested on time, is good. It doesn't always test great, not as good as it may feed, but that's another discussion. But um, we can harvest this throughout the summer months and in times when it's a lot easier to get hay harvested. We have a major issue. I call it the Missouri cool season grass hay dilemma, where fescue is harvested or needed to be harvested within about a 2-week period in May, and we can't physically get it all done. And so having a warm season grass option, whatever it may be, gives us a lot more flexibility to get it done earlier. Production is excellent on these. This is a comparison from University of Kentucky and the University of Tennessee. At top, you can see the Kentucky data comparing it to tall fescue, making about a little over 3 tons per acre on a replicated trial. By the way, it took them 180 pounds of nitrogen and 4 harvests to get that number. But when they were producing native grass species on only 60 pounds of nitrogen with 1, sometimes 2 harvests, they were getting significantly higher tonnages off of that in such a small time frame. The growth time for these native grasses is much smaller than some of the cool season grasses. Similar results at the bottom there, looking at the big blue and the Indian grass at the University of Tennessee. Excellent yields. If you can get up over 5 tons with 7 varieties, 3 years of data on just 60 units of nitrogen, that's something that's going to, we should take notice on. I would like to propose that we do a paradigm adjustment. I think we're due for that. I believe fescue is here to stay, and that's good. We need fescue, but I think our fescue emphasis should be in the grazing during the fall and early spring. And if we can make hay off of it, let's do it. But when the quality drops after seed head development in the spring, it's time to move on to something else. Don't just keep trying to go after this low quality that's not making, keeping up with the needs of our cattle. So we have better options if we have warm season options available to us to get it harvested on time and maintain the quality and even make more tonnage. And then we also can graze that during the summer as well. So I think having some options like that are good. It's also very efficient of fertilizer. I think that this is because we primarily have a root system that is much more extensive once it's established and can more efficiently utilize the nutrients that are in the ground. We look at a comparison of what the university recommends as far as replenishing the removal of phosphate and potash. You can see at the bottom of the page there, a very small amount of fertility removed, let's say on a 3.5 ton crop, modest 3.5 ton crop compared to Bermuda grass or modest fescue yield. Look at the potassium removal in particular and how much more they remove compared to these native grasses. It's worth a look-see. And I think also excellent cover for wildlife. We've always known this. Quail in particular can benefit from this. They can navigate through that field better. They can nest better, and it's just a better environment for quail habitat. Now, we may not need to take 2 cuttings if we do a hay harvest off of it in order to accommodate nesting. Maybe 1 should be it. But I think with some modification, we can have both, a benefit of both. Now, I can't deceive you. There are challenges with raising native grasses. The number one right off the outset you'll find is the expense of establishment. These are some numbers I put together. You can see the typical cost per acre of some of the warm season grasses. Outside of Bermuda grass that is sprigged, the big blue stem, the eastern gamma grass are going to be pretty pricey, and Indian grass falls right in there too. Pretty pricey. The switchgrass may be a little more reasonable, but that's sometimes a turnoff to some producers. But you have to look at the long-term benefits and realize that if you can produce more tonnage and reduce end-of-fight issues on the farm, this can pay off over time. But you have to be a very patient person sometimes because It's known to have slow and sometimes a difficult establishment. The seedling vigor is not like, putting wheat or rye in the ground and 2 weeks later having a stand that you can row. It's not the same way. This takes a year for it to fully get established before we really are starting to use it. Some will say that the first year it sleeps, the second year it will creep, and the third year it will leap. I believe that's true on some species, but we've also seen where it crept and leaped within the second year and did pretty good. This thing requires a higher level of management. If you are have the common practice of overgrazing pasture, this is not your thing. You need to walk away. It's not for a heavy grazer. It's not for species of animals that are going to graze heavy. And so we really need to make sure that it is taken care of, preferably in a grazing system where we can control grazing, and our cutting management as far as the height of harvest, whether it's with a disc mower or a mower conditioner or a mouth. We have to control that and then give it rest periods later in the season. You've got to do all those things to keep it going. Well, these are a few of my thoughts on warm season grasses, and I hope they've been helpful to you.